What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and this time we're going to listen to some D.O.A. I mentioned them when I was reacting to TSOL, and it felt like, you know, given that they have a similar sort of vibe back then, it felt appropriate to react to one of their tunes from Hardcore 81, and I mentioned it, what the hell video was it? I think the Bad Brains big takeover reaction I did. I talked about, you know, one of the first explicit references to punk as hardcore was D.O.A.'s Hardcore 81. I had the original album of this going back to at least, you know, the mid-90s when I got into punk, but I had since lost that, so I had to replace it. And if you look at the top here, this is the 40th anniversary of this album, was last year, obviously. Crazy to think this album is 41 years old. Like, my God, I'm 41 years old, so the fact that this album is as old as me, just about, I was born at the very end of 80, is remarkable. But yeah, so we're going to listen to the original lineup, because this is, you know, a repress of the original, which is Joe Shithead Keighley. He's, you know, the mainstay. He is the one constant of all D.O.A. releases. But the original lineup was Randy Rampage on the bass, Chuck Biscuits on drums, and Dave Gregg on guitar and vocals. Joey has a thing in here. This is dedicated to my fallen comrades, Randy Rampage and Dave Gregg. Long live Randy and Dave. Shout out to that. I love that. Also shout out to just, you know, these old school photos of the band. Super, super dope. So we're gonna listen to an album or a song on the album called Slumlord. And you know, it's a lot of the D.O.A. songs have very short lyric liner notes, because, you know, there are basically maybe 3 or 4 lines, a lot of like refrains or, you know, a chorus, and it's more just about the grind, sort of that 80s hardcore sound in a sort of condensed period of time. You know, it's not this long, like, meandering, like, work of punk rock art, which it's not a criticism of either style. I like punk that is more expansive and, you know, melodic or whatever, but I also like that old school gritty, like, we're coming here to shout a message, we got something to say, we're going to do it in about 1 minute and 10 seconds, and then we're going to stop. So I do respect both styles. Anyway, we're going to listen to a tune they did called Slumlord, which is basically, you know, accusing people who run really crappy, like, tenement sort of apartment buildings with, you know, failing infrastructure and services, and, you know, promises to fix things in the light in the hallway and all that, but it never gets done, but they're still going to charge you the same rent, and no, you can't, like, you know, have an extra day to pay or whatever. And, you know, they'll chase you down if they have to. They'll report you to the sort of, you know, debt police or put you in debtor's prison. So it's a song that basically accuses a lot of landlords in these shitty rundown areas where, you know, sometimes, like, undocumented immigrants can be, like, double charged because they don't really have the resources to say, hey, we're actually getting exploited by the, you know, person who's running this residential area, you know, unlawfully, and so on. So bottom line, I think it, you know, accuses some of them of sort of being bullies, and it just speaks to the sort of, like, gritty urban environment that I talked about in 6 Foot Rooms, which, you know, now that I say that, I think it'll probably be up by the time you're seeing this. But yeah, 6 Foot Rooms by Culture Shock, you know, it's just talking about how from the cradle to the grave, like, in modern human society, there's this impulse and this drive to just put people in little self-contained areas that are small and don't really allow for, like, a full sort of rewarding life, but are much easier to manage and whatever. And it's sort of like that. It's, I think one of the lines of the song is like, it's a concrete prison block, and, you know, it's your little plot that you put people into and then charge them money for it. So that's the kind of vibe we're dealing with. Excuse me. Here we go. This is D.O.A. Slumlord from Hardcore 81, 41 years ago. Rock this fucking album back in the day, man. I was very happy in the mid-90s to be listening to, like, early 80s punk like this and the Subhumans and TSOL and early Vandalism. I I felt like, hold on, man, I gotta get the roots before I get what people are doing now. I love his voice, man. It's another one of those, like, it's rough, but in the right way. Slumlord, your title fits your deed. You're living in this fucking shitty place that you've helped create and maintain. So enjoy being a king of a terrible place. Some crazy drumming at the end of that song. Although again, if I say it about 80s synth pop, I need to say it about a punk rock tune. It's still weird to me to just fade a song's volume down and like, well, yeah, they could have kept playing. It's like, well, yeah, you know. Presumably at shows they actually had a written sort of, you know, definitive end to the song. But yeah, on the studio version it just fades like that. So I'll always criticize that. It's nothing against the band. It's just more like, you know, I realize when albums are being put together, and, oh, we got space for the amount of songs that we can use and whatever, they have to make decisions about exactly, you know, how to end a tune, even if it means cutting it off a little before the band would in a show or whatever. But I just always think, even if you're going to do that, have like a studio version that has like a damn, you know, you end on a cymbal hit or something instead of just like, we're just going to lower the gain and that's it. But regardless, I do love that. I love their sound. I mentioned, you know, during the song, which I apologize, I try to do most of the sort of discussion and analysis when it comes to these punk reactions up front, because they're different than techno. I feel like techno, you react more in the moment, because like a new synth will come in, it's like, oh, okay, see the way that's jiving with the kick drum and whatever, you kind of have to do it in a more like visceral way, or like in the moment, I mean. But like punk, I feel like I have to talk a little bit more up front and then kind of let the song like do its thing. Nevertheless, I really do love that gritty sound. Like, you know, when I was first discovering punk, you know, for like 94, 93 and onward, as I got more and more into it, again, I had this feeling that like, I gotta go back and listen to, you know, this early Subhuman stuff, this early Dead Kennedy stuff, the early Bad Religion stuff. I felt like, you know, there were bands like that I was aware and I'd heard songs from. You know, one of my friends was really into kind of, you know, bands like Millencolin and Strung Out and whatever. I got nothing against it, like Lagwagon. I got nothing against those bands, and indeed, I like some songs by those bands. And some albums. I think, you know, Strung Out, Twisted by Design is somewhere over here. So, yo, like, you know, I got space for all different kinds of punk, including bands that got their start in the 90s, like Propagandhi. But I did have this sense at the time that, like, I gotta go back and, like, see where people have been in this scene before, and then it'll make more sense like now. Now again, the first band was Propagandhi, so I was like here, and then I jumped back, and then I like came forward again. But that was the plan, and I think it, you know, served me well in just sort of understanding, you know, different approaches to punk rock as music, as an aesthetic, as a community, as a subculture. So yeah, ultimately, I don't claim to be, you know, super knowledgeable or any more of a punk than anyone else, but I did try to kind of like go through it the right way as it felt at the time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you're a fan of D.O.A. I still think it's amazing that they're still around. I have their most recent album. It doesn't have like, you know, a liner card that you can take out, because if it did, it would definitely fucking be up here. I do have this one. This one's from like what, 04, maybe even 01, something like that. So that's kind of a middle period D.O.A. album. You know, it's funny, they did Fucked Up Baby, which is a song on Hardcore 81, and then on this 40th anniversary, there's a special, which is Fucked Up Ronnie, like Ronald Reagan, that they did like a couple years later. And then there's one that they did in recent times, and it's included on the most recent album, which again I have. I think it's just called Treason. But it's called Fucked Up Donnie, so it's, you know, it's a song in variations that he's been singing for 40 years. Anyway, like I said, let me know if you like D.O.A. Let me know if there's another song of theirs you'd like to listen to or hear reacted to, whether on Hardcore 81 or Live Free or Die or Treason, because I have them all. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day, have a good night. I'll see you next time. Peace.